Hey, it's us. We're back, and this time we're doing a review of the Thunderbolts, Marvel's The Thunderbolts. I know it's been a while since we've done a review. We were supposed to do a Minecraft thing, but that kind of fell through. And the more and more that went on and on about that movie, the more and more it was more subjugated towards the memes and not about the film itself. So we figured, we'll just let that go. And plus, we were covering a lot of all that news in the news radio episodes. But hey guys, it's me, Ethan, and I'm joined today here with
me, Tina.
And we're going to be reviewing The Thunderbolts, which we saw on a Friday.
It was actually really good.
Yeah. We had low expectations given the state of Marvel and also the fact that here is a team full of a bunch of misfits and a bunch of kind of a handful of characters from the Disney Plus TV series. It was kind of like a Who situation, like these guys really? But the more and more I saw trailers on it, and the more and more Tina here saw trailers on it, we were kind of like, we'll go see it.
Yeah, I have to agree.
What was your opinions as somebody who hasn't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Hawkeye, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, or Black Widow? Really, I mean, she's seen a lot. She's seen the main line stuff, but any of the spin-offs we just named. But for you, I mean, that's curious as an outsider looking in. You're seeing the film from a whole nother perspective, and yet you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it because honestly, you didn't have to see any of the other movies to understand kind of what was going on.
You didn't feel like you had to do any additional homework for it?
Exactly, yeah.
Did you feel that way with the Captain America Brave New World, the one we saw in February?
No. Actually, with that one, it felt like you needed to do some homework with it. I was not a fan of that movie too much, because there could have been a lot of opportunities that I felt were missed.
Yeah.
In that movie.
Did you feel like anything was missed here? Were you happy with what you saw?
I was very happy with what I saw. I feel like maybe one or two characters could have been added to it.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the film was great. I laughed. I cried. I didn't stop laughing till the very end.
She enjoyed. She had her laughs, a few chuckles. She's one of the few that were in the theaters. Quiet, a bit deadpan there.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a kind of a boring showing, but I guess that kind of happens when you see these movies a little earlier than the average go crowd. You're there with a Marvel alum who are studying the shit out of the movie, and they're not really getting involved unless it's like hype and it's some sort of like big early showing. But that was not present for at least the first half of our film. But I think the more it got going, the more we started seeing people kind of their guard was down and people were getting more into it and stuff, especially with there's certain moments we'll talk about here in the spoiler territory when we get into that one, because this is a hard movie to dissect without getting into spoiler territory,
without giving too much detail
exactly
away.
There's a lot going on, but
and I'm someone that I don't like giving too much detail away, so be ready for me to talk a little more.
We're gonna get into the spoiler things. I think we'll try and get to the 7-minute mark with the regular, and then if you want, I'll find the timestamp and then I'll just stamp it here for everybody to skip ahead to the spoiler portion if they want to. But right now, this is the spoiler-free section of the review. Who was your favorite character in the entirety of this?
Without a doubt, Florence Pugh. Yes, who plays Black Widow.
Well, as Yelena.
I absolutely love her character. I feel like I can relate to her a lot in some of the scenes that were going on in the movie. Again, she was just so naturally funny. But she also had this tough demeanor about her that just made you envy her a little bit. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I like her.
You like her as the new leader?
Yes, I like her as the new leader.
We'll get into that too. Mm-hmm. My favorite character, I wanted to like John Walker a little bit more as with Riot Russell playing the character again. We'll get into my gripes with that, but the show stealer has got to be Lewis Pullman as Bob, or Robert Reynolds, a.k.a. the Sentry, aka something else. We'll get into that in the spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like his character really kind of stole the show. Whereas, sometimes with these introductions of new characters, especially in the Marvel MCU and the greater, filmography of these characters, we've already kind of been on rides with these characters. So you're already expecting David Harbour to be loud and boisterous as the Red Guardian. You're already expecting John Walker to be a bit of an asshole. There are a few other characters we'll get into in the spoiler territory where I don't think they're as strong, but I feel like Lois Pullman definitely, as a brand new character being introduced in this movie, he really pulled it off. And we'll also get into, we'll get into spoilers as to this and also kind of the history of who was supposed to play this character, but I think they found a really great perfect person to be playing a role where they flip-flop as much as they do between, their emotions and stuff.
I agree.
Speaking of emotions, this movie has some emotional pull and a lot of tones and different, allegories for depression and bipolarism and a lot of different forms of sadness and loneliness, and I think it handled it. It didn't feel preachy at all. Do you?
It felt more relatable than a lot of Marvel movies I've seen, and this is coming from someone who has dealt with personal things. This movie felt more like natural, like more real life. If this were to happen, you could see it happening.
Yeah. Like it's grounded in realism, given that it is a superhero film.
Yeah, there was points where they're not superheroes, they're humans at the end of the day, and they're going through serious emotions that couldn't be really explained until
they fleshed out the characters a little more,
until you learn more about their backgrounds and their history.
Well, there you go. Well, in general, this is a very difficult movie to talk about without spoilers, so I feel like this is where we're going to give our final closers, that we enjoyed the film, but we're going to have to move into spoiler territory. So at exactly here, for my purposes of editing, at 7 minutes and 36 seconds, I am now issuing the spoiler warning. They will be on screen. Spoiler alert. If you are watching past this and you have not seen Marvel's newest film, The Thunderbolts, or Thunderbolts, asterisk, go see it. We recommend it. We are going to probably give it a good score by the end of this. Okay. But if you have not seen it, please go see the film. Support this. We want Marvel storytelling where it's actually deep and has some thought process into it. But we are now going to get into the spoiler territory. So we'll give you an extra 30 seconds as I spew word soup garbage at you for the next couple seconds. You have been warned. Thank you so much. We are moving on to the first spoiler. The Void is in this movie. Lewis Pullman plays two characters, and it is not just the Sentry, and he looks comic book accurate as all. They even go as far as to dye his hair as a promotional thing, like they did in the Sentry.
It looked awful. I didn't like the hair dye.
It was perfect. He looked perfect.
He did look great, but I did not like it.
Why I say he's a standout is the fact that he was able to play a character that was complex, in the fact that they really went there with the Sentry and focused on the brutal upbringing and the hush-hush portion of the comics, where the Sentry, Bob Reynolds, is, abused by his dad and, kind of emotionally and physically and verbally assaulted by this guy. Yeah. And it's done in a subtle way that, it's not in your face or nothing like that, but you're seeing this guy go from, careless free Bob to hurt Bob to a straight up dead demon.
Yeah, I'm gonna hurt others. It was almost as if his character switched from something so
wholesome and whole
and kind and pure to something so dark. But the darkness was so relatable to everyone in the theater. You could feel
it's
the
relatable.
tension.
It's relatable to our characters as well with the stuff that's going on, emotional tension going on, especially with Yelena's character. The movie
Yeah.
even opens up with her, pretty much venting about her,
Her
her
childhood.
childhood, her
And
traumas, and
how
the
she
things,
kind of feels
and how
dead
she's kind of
inside,
feeling
and she's
empty.
feeling
Yeah,
numb, and at this point, she feels like there's no reason to even being, and that she's
just coasting
yeah,
through
she's
life.
just coasting through life, and there's no exact purpose for it, and then it gets deeper by giving you more of again another spoiler here for you, and it's more of her history and her shooting another kid as a child, and this flashback just keeps repeatedly happening, and she keeps living this cycle in her head, and then all of a sudden, you finding out that she was a child assassin essentially, and
Well, just diving more into
yeah.
the lore of the Black Widows and their upbringing in the Red Room and everything like that, we're always kind of told in like little tidbits here and there through Black Widow and the Avenger films and the Captain America films. Some of the cruelty is, kind of like a dipping of the toe into the background of the Black Widows, and never much else other than throwaway dialogue here and there.
Yeah.
In this one, it managed to really kind of ground the full severity of what these kids were truly actually going through
Yeah.
when they were being brought up in the Red Room as these child assassins. We know about it, but we don't actually see it. And so to see some of this stuff, especially some of her flashbacks when she goes into the void,
Exactly.
with
It
the,
brings a different type of light to the situation.
yeah, exactly. You're seeing the character a whole nother way, even though we already know these characters so well. It's just like it's more pieces to the puzzle for the upbringing of the widows. I thought that was really cool.
So did I.
Not cool because it's not. It's
but I found it fascinating. You got to know the character more. You got to see a little more of their history versus just seeing it in cartoon form or seeing it in just
a comic
them,
book where it's just like throwaway dialogue.
Yeah, or them just verbally saying, "Yeah, I was a child assassin." No, actually seeing them go and not expecting
them
to take the route of actually shooting a kid, but doing it
weaning
more
out
than
the weak.
once.
I mean,
doing it more than
and
once.
it's not new to
replay.
these people too. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, so her story was by all means very dark, but there's some other parts
now,
of the story.
So we were talking about the Void here. The Void is Lewis Pullman's The Sentry. When he accidentally touches people, sometimes he kind of shows them their absolute darkest moments, and then they kind of like are reliving it from as like a outer body experience, and it's really, really great, and it's probably some of the best parts of this film. But we only ever see it with Yelena, and we also see it with John Walker, and I believe Lewis. What's her name's character? Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Valentina. We also see it with her as well. Oops. But I found that there's a few characters throughout this run. And I think since we're in spoiler territory, I'm going to go ahead and just let it be known. One of the things that happens in this film, and it's done dirty, is the fact that Taskmaster gets put down like a dog within the first 15 minutes of the film.
Most definitely.
Ghost is the one to basically drop her. The whole team is kind of brought to an area where Valentina has pretty much like tricked them into hunting each other, and it's kind of like a 5v5 scenario. And
like to get rid of all evidence situation.
In a way to get rid of all evidences, and so
killing them too.
Yeah, they've been workers for her, so they're just trying to get rid of them. Everybody except for Red Guardian, because he's never got the chance to work for him, and that's kind of their way out eventually is through him. But Taskmaster gets dropped almost instantaneously, shot to the head. Not much of a fight, not much of anything, and it's weird because the promotional material and the trailers show her in the Avengers Tower when they all go to confront Valentina.
Really?
They show her just kind of standing there, but it always looked a little odd, like it was like, superimposed in after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So they were definitely using that as a ploy to be like, oh look, she's still here, but she was not in any other moment. Yeah, we all kind of figured she was going to die pretty quick, but I kind of feel like they did that as a way to apologize to fans who have really kind of shared their outcry for the fact that they don't exactly like the Taskmaster being the female version, and just kind of not a great character from the Black Widow movie. She was really kind of just like shoehorned in. So this is kind of their way of resetting it and righting the wrongs, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe they could have done a little more. I would have liked to see her fight a little more, but I guess that's the play of the story, is everybody kind of wanted her dead to start with.
We kind of all got what we wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bad. It's to the point where once they've dropped her and they're all kind of figuring out what's going on, they literally do a whole scene to pretty much have them pick over her weapons and her guns and her stuff.
They stripped her.
They stripped her of all of her stuff, and John Walker's like, "Yeah, she would want me to have this." That's what he said.
Yeah, that was a funny moment.
That was a funny bit.
That was great. And then, and then it was kind of like they had to escape. So you're not expecting all these characters. Let's first start out with, they were all sent to kill each other, but not knowing they were killing each other. So it was like a domino effect, essentially.
Well, they pieced it together pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, they pieced it together, and they ended up, you're not expecting it, but they end up start working together to get out of the situation that they're in. And slowly you're starting to look and take more notice to Bob. And you're like, okay, is Bob a regular person, or is there something going on with him?
Yeah, Bob kind of wakes up there.
And he's not. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know really what the hell's going on. Just the fact that he's in a strange place with some kick-ass people, and that's where the story kind of just starts unfolding, and you see them work together and ultimately try almost to kill each other throughout the process to get out.
They're kind of the bunch of misfit assholes that are forced to work with each other. We did forget to mention a character, and here's the thing, is that just like her debut in Ant-Man and the Wasp, she's almost kind of forgettable in this film. She didn't have much to do. She kind of, her powers constantly getting... they kept doing some sort of sound barrier thing that was forcing her to stop. So every time she's about to get going, she didn't really get a chance to shine. And that was Ghost.
Yeah, she had some really cool powers. I was expecting a little more from her character. I feel like she had the ability to be a really strong character. I mean, in the very beginning, I saw a little bit of her glitching out there and popping from room to room, and then just going and
it was pretty cool. But
in different scenes.
We never got to see her and the touching, with the Void and what she would have experienced during.
No, I would have loved to know her dark past, because I mean, some of those characters you don't get to see often, and when you do see them in a movie, you want to know everything you can about them.
And that's what sucks about Ghost, is that would have been a pretty cool thing to do, the trauma of her dad testing on her and ultimately accidentally turning her into that. And
she talks about it.
I mean, she talks about it, but it's throwaway lines. We don't get to see that. Seeing a child, lose her trust in her dad because he fucking is trying to outdo Stark, is just well, that's comic book wise. Sorry for MCU fans, that would be Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. But Ava Starr, she's
But altogether, her character is really good. She did help out a lot.
She helped out
throughout, escapes.
I wanted more. That's what's teetering me to lower my score a bit. Is that I wanted more from her and Walker a bit, and I didn't get as much. Though we did get a really cool scene with Walker, where he's kind of his anger. Now that it's all heightened with the botched super soldier serum that was on the black market from the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, he's you're seeing how it's affecting his day-to-day life, where he can't even take care of his own kid because he's so wrapped up in news articles and everything calling for, to get rid of him when he was Captain America, and the shame he feels. And then he's, it's affecting his life in such a way where, he's on the brink of not being married anymore with this lady, or she's like ready to leave him.
Oh, I didn't notice that part.
Yeah. Well, when they do the flashback.
Yes, you're right. I guess I would have loved to know a little more of his story too.
Yeah.
Because it only just touched.
It just touched the surface. And for anybody that hasn't seen the TV show, that's a bit of an oddball.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess you could honestly say, not necessarily that you have to see the show or see anything else before watching it, but you got to know a little bit of it to understand what those flashbacks mean. But his character was altogether just a bit of a dick, and that's John Walker. I liked the John Walker dick. I liked the Captain America dick. Maybe that just came out a little wrong, but
she likes U.S.Agent being an asshole. He's a lovable asshole.
I like it because he, it's like I don't know. It's like you're
secretly rooting for him.
21st version of a G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from him. And he was just altogether, a dick but funny. And to the point where you're like, okay, you're kind of stupid.
Yeah.
In a sense that he almost got them all killed going up that shaft.
Yeah, when they have to get out. We have a lot of dick innuendo jokes here going on.
Yeah. Yeah. But they have to shimmy up a shaft, and I know it sounds weird, but you have to. They do it the
Emperor's New Groove 4-player style.
Yeah. Back to back to ass to ass to ass. And then they get to the top and they realize, oh shit, how are we going to if we let go, all three are gonna fall. So, Captain Dick here decides that he's going. Yeah, he's
trying to be the leader, but at the cost of everybody else's life, and it's really funny. It's neat, but it's also a great way to pivot.
Yeah.
How Elena kind of steps up and slowly becomes the leader without really truly knowing it. It doesn't feel forced or some whammon or girl power nonsense. It feels earned, and it feels like, part of the thing. Yeah, I like her
natural.
I like her as the leader.
Do I. I enjoy having her.
And this might be controversial, but I'm going to be honest. I think she's a better widow than
her sister.
Her sister didn't get to do that. That being said, I think it's only because Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow really didn't get to do much other than be a
flirtatious.
Yeah, I didn't really get to do much in most of these films. She's been it was only when they fleshed her out in the Infinity War, and then she dies, do we really get much out of her. Yeah. One of the other characters.
Oh, my next favorite character.
David Harbour's Alexei, a.k.a. the Red Guardian.
Black Widow's papa.
Black Widow's dad, yes. I love the fact that he wants to relive his glory days, and then when she comes to him in the very beginning and asking him, hey, I'm not too fulfilled and stuff. When was the last time you were fulfilled? And when he's open and honest, then it's not that, she's looking for him to basically be like, okay, when we were a family last, or when we were,
give a basic
operating in the U.S. as a family, like they were at the beginning of the Black Widow. And instead, he's like, no, when I was like serving for my country, when I was like needed and loved and respected and by the Russians, he really he misses that, and she's not. You can see this bit of the contention from her where she's like, okay, thanks, Dad, right? Like,
yeah, the opening to his scene was kind of like a depressed widow, essentially, widower for the man, I guess, who has not really been able to achieve anything with his life.
After his glory days. So he's sitting on the couch, he's drinking, he has, pizza boxes. He's got different businesses going. He has different businesses, a limo company that then God Uber knows where the heck. Uber. And then the house is just kind of like a disaster. It looks like a single lonely
homely man who has nothing going for him and unshaved, unkept, you know.
She's not talking about some of our listeners. Please don't get all upset.
No, I'm only talking about my sweetheart here.
Wait a minute. Not at all.
I'm kidding, y'all.
So, I felt like it came full circle for the character, and at that moment I thought, oh shit, is he gonna die?
I know.
I
had a feeling. Expecting for them to kill him off. But...
He did not. He got to have his superhero moment, and he got to be a figure to all the people again. And you could see him finally. He's getting what he wants again. He's being admired by the civilians, and he's getting to be a superhero again. And then in a flash, something that is absolutely one of the wildest things I've seen in a MCU film. They kill off a child.
Oh my god, yeah. Like right in front of you. And all of a sudden you hear your heart and everyone
in the theater went, it was a big gasp through our entire theater. Was just the fact that the void vaporizes after the Red Guardian saves this little girl, or we're talking like 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
She gets like,
it's just like
blasted away.
Yeah, almost as if you were watching
the void when he I'm sure most of you have seen the trailers, or if you've already seen the movie you know what I'm talking about, but they get blasted away in such a way where it almost leaves a cloud outline similar to
like a shadow.
The shadow similar to the bomb droppings and when it comes to nuclear blast, like in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I wasn't thinking that deep.
That's what I'm thinking.
I was thinking more deep, as in like a shadow. So if your shadow,
that's the shadows.
So if your figure, like how everyone says your shadow follows you, take a moment when you're walking down the sidewalk, or you're just looking behind you or in front of you, and you cast a shadow. Now imagine if you were not standing in it and your shadow just remained there. That's exactly what happened in the film, and then everyone's heart dropped. So you can imagine watching this kid just be vaporized, and all of a sudden you hear it. It's
everybody's going.
And everyone's just disappearing, and you can't hide from it. So going into a building, hiding in a bathroom, under the bed,
it took over all of Manhattan. And
yeah.
what's neat about this whole situation is, in a lot of the different Marvel films that followed the events of Infinity War and Endgame, we saw a lot of people who were snapped and they turned to dust, and then they returned. I would like to see the ramifications of the Void and his first, situation, if you will, here in Manhattan when the Thunderbolts took him on. I want to see other people go through that stuff, including some of the heroes that are located in Manhattan. Daredevil, Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Kingpin. These are my 4 that I want to see, especially...
either them get tossed into their
TV shows, or with like you can even open the Spider-Man
to the
movie.
Worst part of their lives, Spider-Man losing his grandfather.
Losing Aunt May. I mean,
Aunt May.
Could you imagine that's what he's seeing over and over again?
Exactly, and then that just replaying, and then he's like, "What in the world is going on?"
And we've got a second season of Daredevil coming next March, which will cover both of Punisher and Daredevil and Kingpin. So I hope that this Void situation doesn't go to waste. I hope that this carries over into these TV shows. And I wouldn't mind it carrying over into Spider-Man as well.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we can't forget another character.
We got to talk about
cool.
Bucky.
Yeah.
Bucky had his standout kick-ass moment after being stuck behind a desk as a new Secretary of Defense, or I don't know what the hell he's supposed to be now, but it's clear he don't like
the government.
He's something for the government, and he don't even like doing it. And it's short-lived, because once he starts to go and be kick-ass again, there's this whole badass scene where he takes, and we've seen bits of it in pieces, but you have to see it in the theaters.
You have to see it to completely.
You have to see it to completion, not just watch the trailers, because it's just, you can see him, and he feels there's a smug feel to him. Where
it's like, oh yeah, I still got it.
Even I still got it, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that, he's so happy,
so proud of himself.
So proud of himself.
Like a dog when he finally achieves the trick, and then you see so happy.
And he does it so, like, seamlessly, like he's never ever stopped being the Winter Soldier, or stop being, a superhero, essentially.
I do feel like there could have been possibly a love story that was missed, though.
I don't want to force anything with that.
Oh
they are
man, but I
fun.
totally.
He's 109 years old, though.
I don't care. I'm a mush for love, and
we want some sort of.
Oh my god! To have the ending
on.
where him and the secretary just make out scene, like, you saved me, woohoo, because they've been like communicating throughout the movie together behind I forget her name, Valentina's back.
Yeah.
And just to have that.
Yeah, but that's like a child, though, isn't she? She's like a teenager.
No, she's not. If I stand corrected, her character's named Mel, and it was just. I feel like there could have been a romance there, which was just like chef's kiss, perfect. But I don't know. Maybe an opportunity for a later time, and maybe another one will be coming out.
The downside to this one thing with Bucky that I wanted to what I want to address before, I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to get this out there. We do not get to see the Void with Bucky either.
Yeah.
He just kind of in a throwaway says, "Dude, my past is my past. I've had a lot of messed up shit. What can I say, right?"
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he dealt with it on his own, off screen. It is what it is. Who cares, kind of thing. And I felt that was also a missed opportunity because of some of the trauma that Bucky went through, being forced to be the Winter Soldier and doing stuff for the Nazis and the Russians and stuff. It felt like. Especially in the Falcon Winter Soldier, where he's like going around throughout that TV show as a subplot B, making amends and, saying sorry to some of these people and their grandchildren or their, family members of the distant relatives of all the people he's, wronged or killed over the years. And especially with Mr. Chen, I really felt like that would have been a cool little, cameo from Mr. Chen, and also the fact that, he's forced to keep seeing himself take out his son. Or even better yet, taking out Tony's parents over and over and over again. That's just,
I feel like that could have been a good opportunity. Again, there's a lot of characters in this movie. There's a lot of personalities you have to meet. Yeah. You have to learn. There's one scene that I cried, and that's because the father and the daughter had a moment where she's just
vulnerable, and she's
vulnerable,
coming to her dad.
She's not happy, and she says, "Daddy, what do I do? I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know, who I am." And she finally breaks, and she has a one-on, and her dad just cries with her and tells her, you remember in soccer how you were, you were the goalie to be there for everybody. And that, hearing...
And she does the typical girl thing of pretending, well, no, I didn't want to I just did that so I didn't have to run. But he knew full well. He's like, that's my daughter, and she wants to be there and help. He goes, so that's why you're here. It's not because you're nothing, it's because you're here because you're helping. And to actually understand the moment a little better, you have to be there again. You have to watch this film. We want you to go see this movie. So we're going to try and wrap this up here for a bit. We want to talk about one more thing, and I'm going to do this for comic book fans. No, they are not called the Thunderbolts because of Thunderbolt Ross and his initiative to have a team potentially to take out the Hulk. So if that's what you're wondering, no, that's not what they're called. They did a little bit of a sneaky little, It's very tomfuckery, but they were trying their best to basically say, oh, well, the team name was the Thunderbolts because that's the name of her soccer team. But the asterisks, as I had predicted and I had discussed with a few people, they're not the Thunderbolts. In fact, they are actually the new Avengers. That was not cringe.
That was not at all cringe. Don't say that. It wasn't cringe. No, they are now the new Avengers. Yeah. And it is awesome because how they debuted it debuted.
So how they debuted it is very comic book-esque.
It's a very end scene.
Well, no. We're talking about the very end where she kind of tricks them into like doing a press tour.
That's what I'm saying. The very end scene where at this part, they're like, okay, we're effing done with this.
We're done with this chick.
We're going after Valentina, and of course, very Valentina. Like she
saves her ass.
She has press already there somehow, even though everyone's just been snapped away essentially
with the void.
The void. They're all there with cameras, and then she announces, "I'd like to announce to you my team that I've been putting together, the New Avengers," and as casually as she is, with the most
Yelena.
Beautiful Chris, she comes behind her, and Elena goes, "I own you now," and Valentina's face just goes from this giant ass cheesy smile to a "oh shit, what I do," and it's just chef's kiss. Beautiful.
I also want to say that for a lot of these reviews that I've seen, that I've been listening to or looking into, like after the fact, because I do check to see what my peers are saying, a lot of people seem to have it out for Julia Louis-Dreyfus, from Seinfeld, and they're bashing her and saying she's the worst part of this film, and I'm like, absolutely not. She pretty much is embodying.
If she's the worst part of this film, it's because she did her part so well.
Exactly. You're not supposed to like this character.
She made you hate her, and that's exactly what she was supposed to do. Because I love her, and I don't like Seinfeld, but I love her character.
She's supposed to be a despicable, just gliding by the skin of her teeth. That's how she is in the comics, and I think she embodied the character really well. I think people need to double up on those comics, or at least know a little bit more before you start complaining. With all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and cover the 2 end credit scenes, and then we're gonna go and finally give you guys our final verdict. But there are 2 final post credit scenes. One of them is a throwaway gag, and the other one is absolutely super long and probably one of the more serious contenders for the MCU moving forward. So with the first one, throwaway, running joke throughout this film is the fact that the Thunderbolts, the Red Guardian keeps talking about how he would like to be like, we need to be famous and be like the champions on the Wheaties box, right? Which is really old. I don't even know if Wheaties is still doing that.
It's such a dad thing. He is wanting to be, the manager of the team. Yeah. He wants to be Captain Dad, save everyone. He is a lovable, jolly man, and honestly, he reminds me so much of my own father. Like Ethan can vouch for it. He's met my father in person, and it's just his character is so lovable. You the moment you meet him, you're like, yeah, you're awesome. So at the end, he's standing in a cereal aisle, and there's this lady shopping in like what it looks like a Publix or something, and she's looking for a cereal, and he's like, you should go with this one. You should get this one, and then he's like holding it up to his face and stuff. And, look who it is, right? Like, it's me on the box, but he's a little different because he doesn't have the full beard. He's just the mustache. He shaved the
beard. And she's just like, okay, whatever, great. She grabs it, and then she turns the corner and she drops it on the corner and leaves and walks off, and he's like, well, I'm on Wheaties, and then it's over. It's
just a perfect little ending to the movie that makes everyone laugh, that makes you giggle, and then right at the end, it's like you leave the theater so happy, and then you're like, that was a great movie. That was so worth,
going in for admission. So now on to the big juicy potato here, potato, big juicy. Oh my god! At the very end of this here film, we see that they are now the New Avengers. They are in the original Watchtower, and during this, it's Yelena basically says, "Well,
okay, well, hold on. First, I want to say I guessed it first, but go ahead.
Okay." Hold on, we'll get
I'm excited. Go for it. I guess it first.
So Sam Wilson is threatening to sue the New Avengers because of the namesake. He's trying to get the Avengers name, and the internet doesn't seem to be on board with them being the new Avengers or the Avengers period. And so there's these meme compilations before the end of the film, like during the credits, where there's people memeing on them, which is kind of meta, a little cringe. I don't know if it'll age well, but we'll see in a couple of years or decades or so. But nevertheless, they're the new Avengers, and there's kind of like this rift talking between the team where they're talking about, should we even be the new Avengers? What can we even do? And new suits, especially Bucky. If you've ever read Becoming Winter, you know that suit looks sweet. Besides that, they get a blip on their radar basically stating that there's something coming into their atmosphere. And what is it? So they're going to get a satellite image of it. And Tina over here pretty much predicted before it even happened. And don't say it's because of the symbol on their jacket. That's just the new Avengers symbol.
No, that is what gave it away to me. Because of that symbol. I don't know. I feel like maybe
something tipped her off and she just kind of knew right away.
Yeah.
And so the ship that's coming into their orbit and their space is the Fantastic Four ship.
Yeah.
Now, here's where this is important, is that the MCU Earth, then we're going to get a little nerdy here, but Earth 616 does not have a Fantastic Four in our universe. That's the whole purpose of that other film. That's Fantastic Four First Steps, that will be out in July 25th of this year. They're in a whole different multiverse. They're in their own universe. But it begs the question, how did they get there? And do they lose to Galacticus?
Yeah. And who dies?
Then who dies? Oh, and does Sue have her baby? Are there 5 instead of 4?
Yeah. And do they come together or do they fight each other?
Or is just Reed on that ship?
Exactly.
All this and more when we find out in Fantastic Four First Steps. We'll be sure to go see it. We'll be sure to cover it for you guys. But this has been our first review, and I think it went pretty well.
I think it went great.
I enjoy doing this with my wife, and I like having her here. We just talk about it, and it just goes. I don't feel forced or nothing, huh?
No, not at all. We always rate places we go to eat. We always rate places, movies. We rate things we do, places we go, and we don't ever leave a rating unless it's really bad. But
we should start doing better ratings for good places too.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad because.
Yeah.
But that's an off-topic thing. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, I appreciate you listening this far. Please leave a like, and if you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, share with a friend, and do all the usual YouTube stuff. But I've been Ethan.
And I'm Tina.
And we'll see you on the next review. Peace.
Bye.
Hey guys, one final last-minute edit here, but I think we got a little carried away because we were having too much fun with the video as is, but I wanted to give my final scoring for the film, and I think I talk for both of us when we say this. We did have a discussion about this, but I'm willing to give Thunderbolts a 8 out of 10. And Tina?
Personally, I'm thinking more of a 9 out of 10.
All right, she's giving it a 9. I'm giving it an 8. The only reason I'm dropping my score is simply because I wanted to see a little bit more from Ghost and Walker. But you know what? It is what it is. I like the switcheroo. I like the new Avengers, and I enjoyed what I watched. But I understand where she's giving it a 9, right?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9 because I like the movie in a whole. I wish they would have just let a little more into some of the characters. But with that being said, it's a great movie all in all.
All right, well, that's our final score. This will be at the very end for anybody still watching. Thanks a bunch. You've been through the rigmarole. You know exactly what I'm about to say, but like, subscribe, and share, and you know the deal. If you like what you heard, share it with a friend. See ya. Bye.
Bye.